Welcome and appreciate you taking the time to join us today. So to give you some context, this is Vinova's first webinar for our market report. As a wider business, we've been running these quarterly for the past 3 years. The goal for this is for us to provide insights and overview of the current market. This is relevant for both candidates and clients, and it'll be around navigating the challenges and the opportunities across recruitment. As a way of introduction, I lead Vinova. We're a specialist recruitment agency that focus in the energy and the renewable sector in Australia and New Zealand. My colleague Katie here, she focuses on recruitment in the project development sector. So look, recruitment plays a large part across all of our roles for businesses, for candidates, for us. Securing the right people helps you deliver projects, it's career moves. So it's a big part in what we all do. So we'll talk about current trends, hiring challenges, and the outlook on the industry. So what to expect over the next sort of 5 to 10 minutes. What we're going to cover is a summary of the current recruitment market challenges and a little bit about the market in renewable energy. Key trends that are affecting permanent and contract hiring over the last 3 months, specific challenges in the energy sector, and a little bit just around sort of market confidence and predictions that we have for 2026. Please, if you have any questions, do save them for the end. There is a chat box on the side. We will do our best to answer to the best of our ability. So if something pops up throughout the webinar and it sparks an idea in your head, feel free to put the message in now, but we'll come to the questions at the end. Also, if you're a client or a candidate that's had significant challenges when it comes to recruitment, we'd love to hear about them. So do think about it and get it into the chat box at the end. So to give you an idea where our data comes from, at Vinova, we're a team of 5 recruiters. We specialize in development, engineering, construction, and commercial within energy and renewables. Each consultant at Vinova speaks to around 50 candidates a week. We meet 5 to 10 clients. So throughout that, we collate a lot of information from the people that we do speak to, and we try and bring that together to create these market reports every quarter. We also use the internet, so other data sources like Clean Energy Council, their reports, which are really insightful for us. And this helps us get real-time view of what's happening, salary movements, market confidence, etc. Before we go into the energy market in specific, I just want to give you a bit of an overview on the current market as a whole. So the recruitment market has been down globally. We've been in a downturn for 2 years. It's had a massive impact across hiring, across multiple industries. Permanent placements are down significantly. Businesses have faced longer hiring processes. They're more cautious with decision making, and they've had budget constraints. So typically with a downturn, what happens is it falls off a cliff and it quickly comes back. But with this one, it has been prolonged and slow. So that being said, we are seeing that change, and I'll talk about that more in a second. So why is that relevant for the energy market? Some of you might be thinking the energy market's busy, right? It's been busy for years. There's significant investment. There's a lot of projects that are happening. The reason that the market affects us is that with the uncertainty, it leads to candidates it's harder to close a candidate or get a candidate to commit to moving jobs when their interest rates are sky high. The cost of living is putting pressure on them. There's funding delays and things like that. So when it comes to securing candidates for your roles, you get to that final stage, right? And everyone's been there. If you're a candidate, you've been there. If you're a client, you've been there. You've spent weeks interviewing. You get to the final stage. You get to a counter offer. The candidate decides to say, one, because the job security where they are currently is there. The cost of changing jobs or relocating, there's risk if that doesn't work out. So despite all of that, hiring hasn't stopped. It's just become more strategic and cautious when it comes to candidates. Looking ahead, there are a lot of reasons for optimism. As a business, as a wider business, we've seen more inbound hiring activity. We've seen an increase in permanent placements, and we've seen a lot more long-term contract opportunities come into market. With that, we believe that there's strong signs that we're through the worst of this downturn, and now we're going to be on an upwards trajectory to get into a more stable or booming market that we were in before. So what I'll do now, I'll hand you over to Katie, who's just going to run you through a little bit about the market, and then we'll talk about some of the challenges that we face when it comes to recruitment?
Cool. Yes, I think everyone has their own opinions on the trajectory of different technologies in the renewable space, but as a general overview of what we're seeing, I think everyone would agree batteries and solar are on a good trajectory. Solar accounted for the largest share of renewable energy with 8,200 megawatts installed nationally. There was significant progress in energy storage. Large-scale storage installations grew by 573 megawatts. We've actually seen some new players coming in to develop batteries as well, which shows the investment opportunities are there. Both onshore and offshore wind are taking a hit when it comes to government and investment support, shown by the wind energy projects totaling just 662 megawatts, which is a pretty stark difference from the growth that batteries and solar have seen. I'll go through a couple of the key challenges right now in the market. I think there is a massive skill shortage across Australia. The pace at which our industry is growing and the need for people in it is outpacing the existing talent pool and the amount of people that have direct experience in the renewable energy industry. One of the ways which we can overcome this is by looking at overseas talent coming into the country. We headhunt a lot from overseas and people come to us to find opportunities as they move over here. These people have got some really fantastic experience, and if you're laser focused on hiring only people with local experience, you may be missing out on bringing some pretty brilliant people in. Yes, there are a few hurdles to go through with visas, but in the grand scheme of things, for the talent that you're bringing on, it's not too costly or time consuming. I think we also were encouraging people being open-minded to hiring people who have experience with other large-scale infrastructure projects outside of energy, like rails and roads, people from consultancies and government too, and transferring these skills into renewables. Another challenge is government support, of course. Government decisions have caused delays with projects, with the general consensus being that developers aren't doing, well, multiple things, but general consensus that developers aren't doing enough for communities. And I think this is where we envisage a trend for hiring in 2025. We've picked up about 5 or 6 roles in the last 4 to 6 weeks for developers who are hiring for community and stakeholder engagement professionals. Developers are creating new roles for their development team and wanting to have experienced people dedicated to their engagement strategy. I think typically development managers manage this part of the process as part of their role, but now, and a dedicated community person was seen as a nice to have, whereas now the need for that dedicated in-house person is to pioneer the strategy is becoming recognised. Rich will go into some more challenges.
Yeah, perfect. So with how the market is at the moment, it's very buoyant in terms of there's a high volume of companies that are all looking for the same thing. What this creates in terms of challenges is for larger organizations where you might have a global board or you have decision makers overseas, it can really slow down your process. And what we find is when the market drops, the processes get longer. In renewables, things move so quickly that if you're a client and you're trying to map out your process, if it's taken sort of 6 to 8 weeks for interviews, for offers to get put on the table, we've seen it multiple times this quarter where we get to final stage, the contract takes X amount of time and the candidate gets an offer somewhere else, which has just moved quicker, right? And you can't always compete. There's always going to be someone faster than you, but it's really important to understand what your process is before you go to market and being really clear throughout the process saying, right, this is step 1, step 2, step 3. These are the times you're going to get feedback. These will be how the interviews are structured from the final interview. It might take a week to get an offer, but communicating through that process is what people are going to buy into. The other thing is counter offers. I mentioned this earlier. Pretty much every candidate that we speak to when we get to final and they resign, they get counter offered. The only thing you can do here is not let it be unexpected. And at Vinova, we talk about the counter offer from the first conversation that we have with a candidate, even before we send them to a client. It's about understanding if you're a candidate and you have an issue, the issue might be days in the office, whatever it is, right? Have you had a conversation with your manager? Have you talked about this with your family? Whatever it is, and really understanding, do you need to move jobs? We don't want to push people into the wrong jobs and push people into jobs for the sake of it, because we don't want to waste your time. We don't want to waste our time. We don't want to waste clients' time. So there's a lot of things we do to mitigate the risk of counter offers, but really just being able to manage the process accordingly when we get to it. So what we recently did to understand what people's drivers were for changing roles, we went to market. So on our CRM system, we have 6,000 candidates. They're skilled, they're coded, they're people we've either spoken to or been referred to us or clients referred to, whatever it is, right? We go out to market. We went to 1,000 people and asked them what their main drivers were for changing roles. Every time remuneration is always the number one. So 41% of people said that the reason for them changing roles was because there was more money involved. But a really good stat to focus on here is career advancement. 29% said they moved roles because they were offered an opportunity to either step up or were given a clear career path put in front of them to change roles. And that's something you can really focus on. If you're a candidate and kind of on the fence for moving, ask these questions in the interview. Will my career look like in 5 years? What can you offer me in terms of my career? And if you're a client, understand and sell on that point. And you can go into the interview and say, look, in the next 5 years, we're looking for someone who's going to, in 2 years, get to this stage, in 5 years, get to this stage. And that will keep people with your business for a lot longer because you're clear, you've communicated, you've given them guidance in terms of what they need to do. Another important factor, so culture came in at 18%. There's a lot of developers or a lot of smaller businesses, which might have been sort of 5 to 10 people who have rapidly grown or bought by private equity and skyrocketed and left culture behind. And that just leads to people leaving. So it's really important that, one, you go somewhere, if you're a candidate that's important to you and matches your values and you think it's somewhere you're going to enjoy working. Like, enjoying where you work is really important. And if you're a client and you're growing, not just hiring people for the sake of hiring, making sure that they're a cultural fit, making sure that they align with your values as a business, and make sure that they're a part of the bigger picture. That's some things you can focus on. 12% came in because of contract. We've seen a big growth in contract work, mainly across construction and delivery, also in sort of power systems and development, where they're looking at sort of 12-month contracts for day rate contractors to bring them in. One, the benefit is typically you don't need headcount to hire a contractor, and there's some really good talent in the market that can come in and advise and do a piece of work rather than always going to a consultancy. But I'll hand you back to Katie now. He's going to just give you some strategies that you can focus on before we conclude.
Yeah, cool. So, I think the first thing, well, I guess like a piece of advice that doesn't really change is the need for a well-defined job briefing. Rich touched on it before, to really be ready to go to market, know exactly what you're looking for. But then the next part of that is sitting down with your recruiter, whether it's internal TA or an external agency like ourselves, and going through like the ins and outs of what you need in this person, where the gaps are. Tell us about your team and what their specialisms are and where their strengths are and where you need to fill in the gap. There's a lot more to this briefing, but I think one real key thing that people forget about is we always get given a salary banding, right? But we don't often get really clear details on what a bonus structure is like for the role. A lot of candidates now are asking what a bonus structure or what the full package looks like before entering a process. So be really clear on what that looks like before you start interviewing people. And it's 20 to 30% bonus, fine. But how do people actually realize this bonus? And candidates want to know what they can do to individually impact receiving their bonus at the end of the day. Another thing that we're massive advocates for and always will be is meeting face to face where possible. It brings absolutely everything to life. And I think when it comes to closing a candidate in a situation where someone's weighing up different opportunities and you really want them to join your organization, if the money's similar, the role is similar, the projects are similar, more often than not, it's going to come down to how someone felt in the interview process, how they felt when they met the different stakeholders and what opportunity feels right. And if you're doing face-to-face interviews, coffees, whatever it looks like, formal or informal, it's much more powerful than virtual interviews in securing talent.
Perfect. And on the face-to-face thing, we advise this for clients, candidates. Moving jobs is stressful. It's hard. If the client's not putting that forward to you, suggest it and say, look, I'd love to come in, understand, and meet some of the team. And this will really help you make your decision in the process in terms of if it's somewhere that you want to work. A lot of the time, if that doesn't happen, you've met someone's face on Teams 2 or 3 times, and then you join a company with 50 to 100 people that you've never met before. So sometimes it's really important to go get a sense of who these people are and if it's someone that you want to work. Another part of the market report is a remuneration review. If you're a candidate or a client and you're looking to get an idea of salaries in the market, what's gone up, what's gone down, we share this on LinkedIn. Also, if you want it directly, just drop us a message after this and I can share the market report. The remuneration review is at the end of the report on page 8, which will have pretty much everything from head of level role through to your engineers. So I'd say in conclusion, like, there's a massive opportunity in the market for people who are either struggling with work or struggling to sort of get their next role. Things are on the up with clients. There's going to be a lot more confidence. There is so many projects that we're working with and speaking to that are due to hit FID soon, which will mean companies have to grow, and that will cause a talent shortage, which is a challenge for clients, but a positive for candidates. So there's a lot of positives. So hopefully, with all being said, that the market does go on that trajectory and we'll put ourselves in a position where we maintain being busy, right? Look, happy to take any questions. Please shoot them over. If there's anything that you don't want to ask in the chat, then please feel free to drop me or Katie an email after, and we'll happily arrange a call or a meeting and we can run you through whatever that question might be. I'm just reading your question now, Cherry. It's a tough one look, I think Katie touched upon it earlier, right? Some clients are very much, I only want someone with local experience, and we are doing what we possibly can to guide and advise clients that there's some really good talent from overseas. From the client side, sometimes it's that they have a very lean team and they're trying to deliver something and they really want someone that can land on their feet. Typically, you'll find that there's definitely opportunities. I wouldn't say that is factual, that no one would consider someone with overseas experience, because I've spoken to a number of candidates, a number of clients who have moved from Europe or the UK or America, wherever it is, people have done it. The hardest thing, and it's the same in every industry, getting that first opportunity is the hardest. Once you get the opportunity, then it's plain sailing from there. It's really just finding that employer that's looking to make an investment on you. And it is harder. Like, we do what we can to advise clients and push them in the right direction. But if there's someone on the board or senior leadership team that say, look, we need someone with local experience, it's very hard to influence that sometimes. I hope that answered your question. Is there anyone else? Did anyone else have anything that myself or Katie could answer? Remember what I said before, if there are questions and you want to take it offline, please feel free to just drop us an email. I can see Neat jumping in. Thanks, Neat. Appreciate the feedback. So like we'll conclude it there. Like I said, feel free to reach out. If you want the market report directly, just drop us a message and we'll share it. Sorry, Russell's jumping in. Yeah, I'll drop my email in here now. Just for your question there, Russell, WA is emerging and there is challenges at the moment from clients that we speak to in terms of the expectation in WA. Like, there are less opportunities there at the moment, but I've noticed and spoken to clients recently who are either setting up shop there or looking to build out practices there. It's a smaller market for sure. There are definitely opportunities there. Depending if you're looking there's a lot of people who do relocate out WA to move to a Sydney or Melbourne or Brizzy because there are more opportunities there, and that is just a matter of the time that we're in now. And when more projects hit WA and more clients move to WA, that demand will grow and that will shift. From a candidate side, I've worked the WA market over the years outside of renewables, and there's a lot of work and not a lot of candidates. So this market will become like that, where that dynamic will shift, which will mean people who are in WA will never struggle for work. But I can't tell you when that will be or what that timeline looks like. But we do get opportunities there, but definitely a lot less. Is that what you meant, Russell? Perfect. Look, if there's no other questions, everyone have a good week and appreciate your time, and thank you for listening.
Thanks, everyone.